And we are back on the Desjardins analyst desk. I am your co-caster Chendog, and over here is
I'm Snowmobiling Seal back again.
all right. Now we got two spicy matchups for you to kick off this league. Game one will be WinWinWin versus Win Diesel, with WinWinWin on the blue side, and game two will be the new entry Damon Gaming versus former champions Meet the Coomers.
And
Oh,
it,
and
and honestly, I'm very excited for game two. I want to see how this new rookie lineup can do against our reigning champions with some new faces.
right, right. Of course. Let's hop into the meat of the argument here. Let's talk about what we learned from the previous season of this league and how we think that will affect how this league will now play out in the current season.
Well, we do have some returning veterans from the SMLCS season one, and so I do expect them to remember that a really big part of season one was teamwork. We had um, formerly Idka Gaming, our second place team, which on paper looked like one of the weaker rosters, but through teamwork and determination ended up actually making it all the way to the finals. So I definitely want to see a lot of things like that this go around.
Right, true. Of course, although we don't really know how a lot of the teams will mesh, we haven't really seen a lot of them play. There have been a few scrims behind the scenes that we don't have too much info on, of course, but we look forward to seeing how the season will play out in the first week. It'll give us great insight onto what comes next. Another thing that we picked up from the previous season, of course, was the importance of, well, of course, Lane Kingdom, and more importantly, well, the jungle duo. That seemed to be the common trend between all the winning teams. And well, it's interesting to see how this will play out because from the looks of some of these rosters, a lot of them appear to be rather more bot lane focused, but we can get into that nitty gritty stuff later when the matches actually start. Let's look at our players to watch for game one, most notably bouncing off of the previous statement of mid jungle. It's expected that, of course, we have captains in these roles. So, of course, for WinWinWin, we have the notorious Jackal Star 1, accompanied by Shaw in the jungle position here. And of course, their opponents will be Joralax probably in the mid lane, and Chris Dragonfist, the other captain, being in the jungle. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yes, we've returning win-win-win mid laner Jackal Star One, a player with a very high mechanical and skill ceiling that we wanted to see a lot from in all the games that he played, but unfortunately, in certain games, he wasn't able to show us his full range of abilities. So we'll be watching him to see if this go around he can perform better than last time.
Right, of course. Uh, Looks like there's some technical difficulties. Looks like I have been frozen. That's pretty awesome, I guess. Moving on though, what's more important than that though is our picks to watch. Well, we don't actually want to talk too much about this because it'll kind of be spoilers for some of the teams. Let's look at what the teams do have in common though. Between the junglers here, it's I guess one thing that they have in common is the Rammus pick. So we don't know if we'll get to see that this time around, but it is something that they have in common.
I expect a lot of the junglers over the course of the season to be similar in playstyle. I'm expecting a lot of fast farmers, but also a lot of great utility champs. This sort of plays off what we talked about in regards to teamwork. We want, or we expect to see junglers that work very well in sort of a 5v5 setting, but we also expect junglers who can make skirmishes better for their respective teams. So Rammus is someone who can do that, and we expect to see junglers along that same.
Also, I guess on that note, there's also a Mumu and Nunu who can fill that role if Rammus is banned out or picked away. So we'll see how that works. On the other note, of course, there is well Jackal Star One and Jorolax. You know this matchup. I feel like we've seen it before. Well, in our own in houses because it's impossible from the previous season because they were on the same team. But both these laners kind of have their own relative styles here. How do you think that will match out?
I expect Jorlax to take a main carry role on his team. I expect him to play to be sort of the linchpin for their roster with which to blow open the game. So I expect to see like very dominant mid lane champions that can snowball very easily. On the opposite end, we've seen Jackal Star One is a very proficient mage player. He's very good at playing your basic control mage and um, and just sort of going even in lane and trying to be useful in the team fights, which makes him very useful actually because he can take an early control mage, and if he gets counterpicked, he gets counterpicked, but he never really loses lane. He just sort of gracefully goes even.
I think it'll actually be really interesting here to see the decision making between the two because if Jackal Star One gets his hands on like a control mage versus Joralax, like chances are he'll have the lane push and he'll have the lane priority. So I can't wait to see how the jungle mid 2v2 plays out if he is able to rotate first or will he rather decide to stay and greed for the wave. We will see shortly. Moving on though, let's look at game two. Damon Gaming versus Meet the Coomers. Former champions here, losing a lot of their players with only a few legacies sticking around. We have Johnson, but V2 is the primary stickler here. And how do you think this team has changed, and how do you think they'll learn? Because a lot of the players are, well, per se, trades from other teams from the previous season.
Well, Meet the Cougars last season was always the team that you could rely on to perform very well in the team fights, regardless of lane states. But they were also a team that, no matter what their matchups, they always just happen to be winning their lanes. I don't know how well that style translates now to the new roster. We'll have to see in the games, but I expect their draft strategy to remain largely the same. They want even matchups. They want winning matchups for their linchpin players, and with that, they'll probably take those into the team fights.
That's interesting. Honestly, I think Damon Gaming's actually coming in with a very similar game plan. I can't honestly tell how much synergy this team has and how much they play with each other. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this works because judging off of that, the fact that we can't really see their teamwork is the fact that they just plan to come in and then just lane kingdom and take over the game that way, which is, as what you just said, kind of what Meet the Coomers plan was previously. So it'll be interesting to see if they get a taste of their own medicine here.
Especially given that, like you said, we haven't seen a lot of these players in our league. So we're going to be dealing with a whole fresh new squad, completely unbogged with the history of the league, regardless of who they're playing against. And so I think they're coming into this with a lot to prove, especially against last season's champions.
Right,
So
right.
I sort of expect this to be a pretty explosive game. I think, honestly, I would love to see Damon Gaming pick highly aggressive, fast champions and just try and outpace Meet the Coomers and try and just dominate them in their first game of the season.
Right, right. Okay. I have a feeling that the bot lane here is going to be the match that lights the tinderbox that is this game. It seems to be that both carries on the team are going to be placed in this bot lane here. So yeah, we're gonna see how that plays out. Looks like we will be taking a short break. We will come back to you with the games after that. Hey, we're good. We're good. All right, green light, everyone. We're good. Okay.
And we are back for draft for game 1.
All right, starting with WinWinWin here on the blue side, banning out Yone, which is targeted towards Dorlax. That's been filling up his match history recently, but didn't want to spoil it anyway. But I guess it was pretty obvious.
Yeah, we sort of expected this Yone very snowball that we want to see out of Dorlax, who wants to take over the game through the mid lane.
Gwen ban here, targeted at Axwell in the top lane. Plays a lot of carry top laners. Very, very difficult for Mr. Sumo Monkey 44 here to deal with. So good ban. Volibear in return.
The Volibear is a curious ban. However, Volibear has been showing up more in the jungle as like a tertiary pick when all of the meta junglers have been gone.
Right. Volibear is a good flex ban here for, of course, his opponent, Mr. Sumo Monkey 44, and Chris Dragonfist in the jungle, and looks like they will return with the Samira ban. It does appear that Lavish Slasher, or now as he appears, TJ in the cut, has been playing a lot of Samira, so that's a well-deserved ban.
Yeah, alleviating some pressure in the bot lane will give the Moose fan Zillikai some breathing space.
And of course, the Silas ban again, targeted at the Joralax.
It looks like they're just trying to buy as much space in the draft for Jackal Star as humanly possible. Kind of going against what I was initially talking about, where Jackal Star can sort of just pick anything and use that matchup effectively.
True. Although they did ban out the core picks. Oh, and there's Oriana, of course, in response for Jackal Star 1. It does leave a lot of Joralax's like well-played and well-practiced champions up, such as Fizz. I thought the list would go on, but my mind kind of hit a block there. I couldn't think of anything past that.
So Victor is the first pick here, for WinWinWin, which I'm not surprised to see. Ornn is the response, a very easy and safe top laner to pick, which will provide a lot of scaling options Win Diesel at the later stages of the game.
Right, it may appear that they're gonna play weak side top lane here with the Ornn pick. Waiting on Chris here. And it looks like the Zac pick will be locked in. Looks like a very tanky top side of the map here. A lot of playmaking potential, although not much damage.
The thing I like about Win Diesel's draft so far is that there's very easy no buttons, right? Ornn R, and Zac Engage is very simple and easy to execute. The response from WinWinWin is going to be either, which we're not really surprised by, very meta jungler.
Interesting here. Hovering between Nasus and Darius, but he will lock in the Darius, although the Nasus would have been interesting because he's picking into a very passive Ornn player, which would have probably allowed for free scaling, but the Darius is good because, you know, if they're planning to play weak side top, you might as well take advantage of that and gain your lead through it. And of course, the Diana, mentioned earlier, will be locked in here for Joralax as we move into phase 2 of Bans.
So what I'm currently seeing right now is that WinWinWin's comp lacks some range, and it's a bit scary playing a Victor into champs that can engage on you really, especially with as much lockdown as Ornn and Zac. So we're gonna have to see Jackstar play very carefully moving forward.
Yeah, it is interesting here. It looks like Win Diesel does have a really good Wombo combo team setting itself up, and the counter engage and peel from WinWinWin here doesn't look very strong. They have a lot of go buttons of their own and a lot of damage up front, but not a lot of playmaking potential aside from the Udyr here. And Morgana ban coming in.
I guess they were maybe expecting the Morgana support, since the jungle pick has already been locked in, so there wasn't really a risk of Morgana jungle.
Actually, crazy. This might be a crazy comment, but I wouldn't honestly be surprised if real Zillikai flexed the hack support and then they let Chris Dragonfist take the Morgana jungle. I've seen real Zillikai do some pretty interesting picks, and I wouldn't say it's above.
I am a little confused as to Win Diesel's last couple of bans in the Ivern and Kane. They must have some information that we don't, given that WinWinWin has already.
Well, looks like Tristana or Yasuo. Yasuo here will be locked in for Win Diesel, and now the knock-up comp makes sense.
And now it makes sense, and in response, WinWinWin have locked in a lot of disengage and countered with the range that they are going to need.
Of course, Viego is not allowed in this, so that's obviously just a taunt towards the casters, which we will gladly take. Of course, Lulu Ezreal is some interesting, well, not so interesting synergy. I actually don't think Lulu and Ezreal have a lot of synergy at all. It's just a really safe lane.
And so it looks like we're going to be basically a full melee squad on the side of Wind Diesel, which, I mean, I did mention before that playing Victor into things that can easily engage on you is terrifying, but it's also terrifying on the other side too. Victor also does really well when he can easily hit things, and well, if you're looking at Wind Diesel's comp, they have a lot of things that are easy to hit.
Yeah, that is true. Wind Diesel here kind of strange with the full melee engage comp. I like it, but I feel like WinWinWin with the Darius here, probably Darius is a good response whether you like it or not, or even hell knew of it beforehand, but Darius is, he just wants to be on top of you, and if you're going to be on top of Darius, 9 times out of 10 you lose. So it's
We'll
kind
have
of
to see how this
interesting
plays
here.
out.
Honestly, Darius might not even need Ghost in the lane phase with this team comp. Uh, this this is an interesting mid jungle here, I think, but
I seem to think that I think Wind Diesel's main problem with this comp is that they're gonna need to take a mid game skirmish where all 5 of their players are there if they want any chance of winning this game. Because
right,
if you let this game keep going, regardless of the orange scaling, eventually all melee champions can get poked out by Victor and Ezreal.
that is true. Uh, Yasuo Windwall doesn't stop the Victor laser, right? Or it does. It's a projectile, no?
I am actually not quite sure.
Because
We're gonna
that,
have
that
to
can
see.
change how the fight plays out a lot. On top of the fact that it can't actually block Victor's ultimate, and Victor's zone control here can really stop a lot of the engage. But we'll see how this will play out. I do feel like though the draft is favored in WinWinWin's side here. I don't know. I just don't have too much faith in the full melee composition that Wind Diesel has drafted. I feel like it's too much to give up. You're giving up a lot of control over objectives in teamfights. You're just relying on your all-in pressure, which can be taken away from Victor and Ezreal poke.
I agree. Yeah, I would say WinWinWin ended up with the better draft here.
Right, there's no consistent healing on the side of Wind Diesel aside from perhaps like Alistar passive and the 2 tanks building Warmogs. And then of course the squishies are then vulnerable to poke as well, and then you kind of just have to back off a lot of the objectives. I don't see how this can turn out too well unless they get an absolutely insurmountable early lead.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. So we're just going to be sending it to break, and we'll come back with the game.
Summoner's Rift. Seconds until minions spawn.
He's actually face checking him with no light. Shaw doesn't have flash. And we are back here with the cast working
day
again.
Same day one technical difficulties. It happens, but
Right,
we're back
right.
now.
Axriel here, camping the top lane Tribush, doesn't know if he realized he doesn't have items yet. Perhaps his teammates will call out to him in a second here. Looks like Chris Dragonfist will get the standard ward down in the Pixel Brush. Axriel still hasn't based yet for his starting items also. I guess it is important to call out here that WinWinWin Shaw does not have flash on this Udyr.
I also wanted to point out something else when we get started. It looks like both Victor and Ezreal will be starting tier in their lanes. So they are completely willing to cede any early pressure to Win Diesel, which does give a lot of openings for Win Diesel to start stacking up early dragons and potentially threaten Diesel.
Right. This is... I don't know how grief this is, but Axriel still is laning without items. This feels wrong.
I feel like he probably has noticed by now, but given that he doesn't have teleport, Ghost instead can't exactly recall and then TP back, but he'll lose a lot more than he'll gain. So I think for now he'll be laning without items, which unfortunately for WinWinWin gives Win Diesel an opening to try and gank top early.
Right, of course, Mr. Sumo Monkey here can't wait to see how he takes advantage of this mistake from Axriel. Of course, both junglers full clearing the bot side, making their way up top. Looks like an early trade happening here between Axriel and Mr. Sumo Monkey. Axriel gets the bleed passive off, but of course, it's actually not that much damage when you are missing your starting item.
Yeah, it does seem like Mr. Monkey is just willing to cede early control of the lane, regardless of whether or not Axriel has items. Which is fine. I mean, if you're Ornn in this matchup, you don't really feel like contesting the Darius until you have some sort of item advantage. Important to note that Bramblevest was actually nerfed on this patch. We are playing on the Bramblevest nerf patch, so we're going to have to see if it provides as much value as it used to.
True, but also Ornn is notorious for rushing Bramblevest. Looks like just standard trading.
And both junglers looking like they're just wanting to do a full clear, potentially into a top scuttle skirmish. However, Chris Dragonfist should be aware that it is a little bit to make this rotate.
Right, although it is important to note though that Jorolax does have the push right now in mid lane, so if they choose to fight for this crab, it might be more favored for Win Diesel. Looks like it won't be though. Looks like Udyr will just pick up the crab.
Yeah, and this is sort of what we were talking about, the early power of having Udyr, of how fast he plays compared to the enemy jungler. So it looks like Chris Dragonfist will actually be getting double crab here, and actually an early gank towards the top side.
Of course, Axrail here knocked up. Might have to probably blow Flash here. He does, and goes too. And he barely makes it out.
Chris Dragonfist making a bit of a mistake there. I don't think with Flash Ghost blown, I don't think there was any realistic way that he was going to catch him. But blowing the top laner's Flash, and given that he also doesn't have teleport, is really good.
Well, Chris Dragon is doing a little scouting now in the top quadrant for blue side. Won't find any camps. We'll just look for the base.
I think right now we might see Shaw either take a base here, which he is actually going to, and he'll be back up for his rubber banded camps. And I would expect for him to try and take advantage of some of this early pressure to try and start securing some dragons. I think having early dragons when you're trying to just be sort of a counter engage comp and still go for this combo is really important, because you want to limit the amount of front to front fighting that you have to do. Because if you can, then you'll just eventually, your champs will eventually be better than them, and then WinWinWin will just have an easier way to victory.
Right. This is actually pretty interesting here. If you take a look at the bot lane farm, it's actually relatively even for a double melee versus double ranged matchup, which you wouldn't expect. On top of the fact that the melee lane actually has the push right now, which I guess is probably why the tier start on Ezreal isn't that good. You lose a lot of early pressure here, and the Alistar is now allowed to roam because of the lack of lane presence from the double ranged bot lane.
Yeah, it looks like a WinWinWin just paying a lot of respect to the instant go, which is understandable. Real Zilla guy showing before that he is willing to make engages where possible. So just sort of making sure that they play as safe as possible while also actually maintaining relatively even in a matchup where it should be really free Yasuo to play.
Looks like a slow push building up here for Axel on the top side. He gets a chance to play aggressive, although he needs to be careful because Chris Dragonfist probably will gank from side of the ward. Oh, nope. He will just leave.
It's like both junglers right now just kind of content to farm it out and kind of scout each other through and through. I'm actually surprised that that Shaw hasn't made his way towards Dragon yet, regardless of matchups. Udyr's just very fast at taking Dragon, and I feel like you can just sneak it in this sort of situation.
Correct. On top of the fact that his bot lane and mid lane both actually have the push somehow, despite being melee versus ranged matchups. Not anymore though. Looks like the push has been lost as Udyr sets up for a potential gank.
I think right now we're just gonna try and I think we're going to be seeing Shaw try to make a move towards one of the objectives on either side, because he does have prio pretty much everywhere as of right now. So it's up to him to either make the call of going for Dragon or invading.
Yep, the blue buff is up and could be contested.
Looks like Shaw not willing to start the Dragon just yet.
It does look like Real Zilla guy has the first rotate as expected of the Alistar. Top lane matchup begins here though. Mr. Sumo Monkey taking a huge chunk and goes down to first blood, knocks in guillotine, cuts him down.
It was relatively close Axrail just barely making it out, but this is sort of what we were talking about, you know? WinWinWin, the best way for them to play is to try not to force any large team fights and just try to accrue advantages slowly, which they seem to be doing quite well. CS leads pretty much everywhere. So eventually this will amount to golden XP leads where even if Win Diesel uses all of their go buttons at once, they should just be able to soak the engage fairly easily.
Right. Also, it is important to note that Win Diesel does have a teleport advantage in the top lane, And also because, you know, Jackalstar 1's teleport is down, so they can make a play to contest this Drake if need be. They do know that Shaw is in the area. Looks like Chris Dragonfist was setting up for a gank bot despite it being pushed in. Axriel still playing the oppressive top laner, proccing his passive once again.
It looks like Shaw peeled off of the dragon, not feeling very comfortable with not having bot lane prio, despite having mid lane to go for that dragon. I think right now I just want to see WinWinWin take one of the objectives. I think Win Diesel is in no position to think as we stay gank bot lane.
Oh. Flash Pulverize comes through, hits the knockup onto Torture Balls. He will burn Flash and Rapid Growth and goes down anyway. Wind Wall doesn't really block anything, but it doesn't really matter.
It's a well-executed gank on behalf of Real Zilligai. Using the headbutt on the minion to gain the range was really well done.
Oh, hold that thought shock coming in for a gank onto Mr. Sumo Monkey 44, and Noxian Guillotine will take him down again. Playing the strong side top, correct?
And you know, Win Diesel correctly reading the play, immediately going for the dragon after getting that kill. WinWinWin will answer on the opposite side of the map with a Herald take and a top gank. So it looks like right now, WinWinWin's main strategy seems to be to let bot lane sort of play itself out regardless of the matchup that they're in, and to just keep snowballing the Darius.
Right, perhaps this is because the bot lane matchup, they aren't very comfortable with it. Not a lot of people choose to play Yasuo bottom, so this is probably a bit strange, although of course Axriel does win out the extended trade, and Shaw is back up there with the Rift Herald. Oh, Chris Dragonfist flashing for the Zac Q, and it lands, but he can't get the last pick. And he goes down to the turrets. That is a bit embarrassing, but he tried to make the play work. Jorlax had committed Ignite for that. Oh, huge engage onto TJ here from Real Zilligai, and takes him down with a nice pulverized combo again. Well-timed ultimate coming out of the Mooseman as well.
So we're sort of seeing the benefits to this combo bot lane if WinWin's bot lane can't disengage fast enough. But I think overall, WinWinWin is going to be happier with that trade. They did take top tower. They did secure 2 top kills in a row, as well as a kill onto the victor. So right now, given the state of the waves and the matchups, I want to see WinWinWin try and shift their focus a bit. I want to see Axriel move down to this bottom side. I want to see him try and force the issue as well, because these two are prime targets, right? Yasuo and Alistar really just have go buttons, and if you can catch them properly, then these are 2 free kills waiting to happen.
Shaw is positioned on the bot side currently. They are pinging around, but the wave is pushed. Mooseman here deciding to break the freeze and stop the slow push here towards his own side of the map. A bit strange, but he didn't know that Udyr was there, so we can't really fault him for it. Not a lot of red wards on the blue side bot jungle.
I like what Axriel's trying to do here. He sort of recognizes that wave top is not going to be getting to him for a while, so he has some free time to kind of scope out the area around mid, clear out some vision, invade some camps, get some reset timers, and just try and see what's happening.
Right, unfortunately for him though, there isn't much to find in the top side quadrant, but smart move nonetheless. He will catch out Mr. Sumo Monkey here, potentially waiting out the Unstoppable from the W to pull. Of course, the Noxian Guillotine executes him once more.
So, Axriel correctly trying to force topside to gain even more pressure, but I feel like at this point, Win Diesel should just be trying to overload on the other side of the map, right? You have this winning bot side, your top lane is essentially boomed, there's not really much you can do in a 2v1, potentially even in a 3v1, given how tanky the Darius is.
Oh, Chris Dragonfist here, landing the knockup, and of course, Mooseman following with his own ult. And they take down Torture Balls.
So when Diesel correctly identifying the play here to just overload on the opposite side of the map, and collect as much play money as they possibly can, to sort of cut the bleeding from topside.
Alright, looks like a play might be made soon. Oh, here it goes! Pulverize finds onto TJ, Chris Dragon 6 follows with Q, and nothing will happen. Okay.
Successfully absorbs the extra dive attempt, which is very well played. Again, I just kind of want to see WinWinWin transfer their advantage now, right? The more time Axrael spends top lane, the less value you get out of it unless the next peril is spawned. The Dragon's going to be coming up soon. I want to see them transfer this advantage. I want to see them play around their strong point.
Looks like a play might be about to happen mid. Real Zilla guy positioning around the vision, looking. Of course, Moose Man following him. Looks like Real Zilla guy is looking for the bot lane, but he is alone here. This is sort of an awkward situation. He might find himself pincered? I don't know, he just walks out and finds himself onto the invading X-Rail here. Moosey lands the knockup, but Rapid Growth comes through and saves him. Ulti comes through and executes 2. And make it 3, triple kill onto X-Rail here. That was well played by Torture Balls with the ultimate.
And we are just seeing the proper transfer pressure from the overwhelming win topside finally to secure an advantage for WinWinWin on the bottom side to earn the Ezreal would lose some space. And you saw right there just how useful the loot is going to be in absorbing engages that Wind Diesel can put out.
And of course, that'll be Ocean Drake for the side WinWinWin.
So now the next play for WinWinWin to make is to try and break open mid, having broken open both other sides. You can make an argument that they might need Rift Herald to do this. However, there is a startling lack of wave clear on the side of Wind Diesel. So if they can just stack up some waves properly, I think they can break open mid really easily.
Right, the lack of ranged champions again coming in as a problem in defending against sieges. It creates a real problem. I'd hate to see what they do to them with Baron.
It just limits Wind Diesel's opportunities outside of a flank, a really nasty engage from either Mr. Sumo Monkey, Real Zilla, or Chris Dragonfist.
Of course, Real Zilla grabbing some scuttle control here for his team while Shaw starts up the second Herald. Axrael, of course, covering for him. Mr. Sumo Monkey unable to do anything here.
You know, Jackalstar correctly identifying to pick up some farm of bot lane. The Victor is going to be very scary given that he's essentially been left alone to just kind of scale in this matchup. And like I said before, low-range champions against Victor are going to be very, very scared to walk anywhere near him.
Right, of course, Moosey on the Yasuo here, unsure if he should go mid or go bottom to match with Victor here, will finally decide to go bottom to pick up the farm after the wave has been pushed though. Kind of walking around, not doing much there.
I think also important to note, as we're going for more of a traditional damage style build instead of something like a tank shredder, so there is going to be a point where Zach and Ornn take pretty much 0 damage from the Ezreal, which is going to severely cut his useless outside of everyone else on the team.
Looks like it will be a TP up from Jackalstar. They will be sieging this turret.
I think using the Herald here is a bit... I think they really should have spawned it on this next wave to get this next Q. Given that, again, they weren't really going to need it.
Ornn, Call the Forge God, finds 2, but nothing will happen off of it.
Chaos Storm used by Jackalstar to ensure some focus will return back to the lane to collect that wave. But again, we're just kind of seeing the hard part of playing a full melee comp into WinWinWin. They have no way to reliably engage unless someone is willing to basically sacrifice their life to get the engage. And they don't have any wave clear. So if WinWinWin keeps stacking up waves to run into them, eventually they'll crack. And eventually, under the pressure of all these waves, WinWinWin might not even need a team fight to take the hero.
Right. I think they're probably waiting on some. I think perhaps Azanya's Hourglass for Jorlax would actually buy them the safety and time they need for the engage, because they can engage with the Ornalt and the Zac, and then Jorlax can follow up with his ultimate and then use the stopwatch to buy time for Mooseman to get in there while Jorlax drops the aggro with the stopwatch.
I think at this point, Win Diesel's just hoping for a miracle because Lulu actually absorbs a lot of what Win Diesel's trying to do. So at this rate, you're just hoping for a misstep or an odd man fight.
Right.
You're hoping to catch WinWinWin unawares. You're hoping to catch one of their soul laners in a side lane. Maybe overload the Darius to get that 1k bounty on Mooseman or Jorlax so they can get their next core item and then try again and again to get these engages. Because if Win Diesel doesn't try any type of engage, they're just gonna bleed out slowly.
Of course. Win Diesel giving up the turn here. Oh, Axel finds a knockup, and the combo comes in from the side of Win Diesel, and it's huge. They find 3.
And they were looking for a miracle, and they finally found it. But in this case, it's the back of Axel's mistake. WinWinWin never needs to force an engage against Win Diesel. They just need to play the waves. Win Diesel has no wave clear to stop them. Instead, Axel goes for the engage, and they have enough people around to make their wombo combo happen, and a bunch of shutdowns go over to Win Diesel to buy them some breathing room in this game.
A 4v5, well, 4v4 actually. Mr. Spinner Monkey was in the top lane. Doesn't really pan out in the favor of this team when they're the ones engaging the game. Sort of need to be the ones who are engaged on with the Darius.
And this does just hand over another Win Diesel. So this does kind of get rid of a lot of the momentum and tempo that WinWinWin had after all of those consecutive kills and objective takes.
Right, Ghost used here by Axel. Stride in, will find the Q onto Real Zilliguy, and immediately followed by the Noxian Guillotine, takes him down.
This is a good pick by Axel to make up for his earlier mistake blowing the Ghost to make sure that the Alistar died. Again, the kill doesn't really amount to much because WinWinWin are not really in a position to take the Baron. They just kind of want to keep ushering their waves in and try and pressure these tier 2s.
This will be the tier 2 bot lane though, most likely taken here. Can't really see the health bar on the tower with Skip's curver cam, but we can just assume it's going down. Yeah, there we go.
Like I said, WinWinWin are just going to play the waves over and over and over again to try and crack open this line of towers. You can see that Axel pushing on the top side. He's going to attempt to take that tier 2, and then eventually you're just going to be in a position where you can just take the Baron for free.
Oh, Jackal Star 1 here might be caught out, but his team is here to answer first. And Win Diesel overcommit to a 3v4. Make it a 4v4 now, but Chris Dragon Fist is down. Mooseman will go down as well to the Udyr. Jackal Star here coming in big with a huge gravity field stun on 2, and they will find Real Guy off that.
And the counter engage from WinWinWin is good. Win Diesel picked an odd man fight to try and catch out Jackal Star. Jackal Star correctly baits out the fight with his flash and is able to buy enough time for his team to show up.
All of the Forge God comes out of Mr. Sumo Monkey here, but not quite enough damage to outtrade Darius.
Aced.
The true damage and the bleed is just too much for a tank like Ornn with only 1 item. Okay, and it will be an ace for the side of WinWinWin. Okay, fine production, a Brawlite ace, Jesus. Why do you want me to say a Brawlite ace?
And we see WinWinWin now just starting up the Baron. They have absolutely no fear of what Win Diesel can do there. Win Diesel's comp is essentially too weak to try and force their wombo combo unless it's on an odd member fight.
Will face check here into Axrail. Again, we see what Darius does to these tanks, but he does find the knockup for Moose. He does force out the flash from Axrail here. He tries to re-engage here, but will kind of just stride breaker around and juke the enemy team. Chris Dragonfist does find the angle though. Blue Spike comes out, and another Pulverize in. Shutdown goes to the Jorlax.
It's a good place to have the shutdown gold. It's also very good to get rid of the Baron buff on the Darius so that he can't terrorize inside lane. But again, we're just kind of seeing the problem. When Diesel's team come from behind is incredibly hard to XP unless it's on a numbers advantage. So as long as WinWinWin can keep up the pressure without getting into any unnecessary fights, this game should be theirs. They don't need to play fast, they just need to take it nice and easy.
Right, and of course for the side of Wind Diesel, they're probably looking for an explosive team fight considering the fact that they have all their sums mostly, and there are no flashes on the side of WinWinWin.
They're looking mostly for a 5v3 or a 5v4 where they can use their combo on some really key targets. Namely, probably the Victor and Lulu, because those are currently the biggest inhibitors to what WinWinWin or to what Wind Diesel wants.
Right. The biggest damage threats on the team, aside from the Darius, is most likely on those.
I like what Wind Diesel's doing right now. They're just trying to earn some space back to their own jungle, but they can't move too far as we're seeing right now with Chris Dragonfist.
Axrill will find the pull, but of course there is no punish, because Dragonfist just elastic slingshots out.
I think Wind Diesel is showing a little bit of a lack of knowledge of how to prioritize who gets what farm. It seems right now they're just kind of running around and sharing XP and farm when they should be prioritizing, honestly, giving up the next dragon and trying to get as much gold and XP on the important members as possible. And that would have to be Jorlax and the Moose. They need as much gold and XP as possible so that if they try to pick this Wombo combo, it works the way they want it to.
And of course, that is another dragon for the side of WinWinWin. But also, it's important to note that the scaling of the Ornn pick hasn't actually come online yet. He's only level 12 right now, so it will be a while before we'll be seeing the scaling benefits of this pick in his teammates' inventories.
It's the unfortunate side effect of having to play versus Darius and then just getting ran over in the laning phase.
Looks like there will just be some wave clear here.
And right now, I am somewhat interested in this Ezreal build. We are nearing later and later into the game, and I'm interested to see where he pivots from here, because it looked like he was going the Dustblade with all of the cooldown that he's going to be stacking, but he's actually picked up an extra Sheen. And
this is a bit strange, you're right.
And it is a bit strange of a build. I imagine maybe Triforce or Divine Sunder is what Ezreal's thinking.
Right.
But then it runs a bit counterintuitive to what this build is supposed to be doing, which is basically spamming WQ off cooldown to try and do as much damage as possible.
Yeah, can we see the gold for the Ezreal here? Of course, take that number that you see and subtract 700 right there. That Spellblade has absolutely no value on him.
Because he's already got one Spellblade passive.
So he's about, what, 100 or so gold behind the Moose Man? Effectively, at least? More like 300. That's a kill's worth, but can't be that bad.
Yeah, we're sort of seeing Wind Diesel misallocate some of their resources. Again, sharing XP, sort of cover up the fact that in even one-on-one fights, no one from Wind Diesel can match their counterpart. Win.
But of course, the Baron buff has expired here, so Wind Diesel finding it easier to clear the waves now.
Shaw correctly identifying that he needs to go push in the bot waves so that 3 waves can be hitting simultaneously against Wind Diesel's inner turret line, so that they can put as much pressure as possible so that there's no time to breathe.
Right, without any ranged champions here, being able to control these waves is nearly impossible versus team comp. The Darius is now too strong where you can't walk up against him 1v1, which means you need multiple people there to clear the wave if it's just Darius. And then you can't clear the wave versus the ranged threats because you'll just get poked down and then you have to leave. And then they take the turret anyway.
This just comes down to WinDiesel right now just needs to identify what their biggest point of concern is, right? If it's the odd number without Darius there, you want to overload that and try and pick a better fight for you with your 5 and their 4 or 3. Or you want to overload the Darius, because if they keep playing this way, WinDiesel is going to slowly but surely bleed out.
Oh, we do see a critical flash there from Joralax to get away from Axrail.
And that is also going to lower their already limited engage options, because now the Flash Diana ult cannot be used.
Of course, WinWinWin here, emptying out all of WinDiesel's jungles except for like the Wolf and Krugs. WinDiesel are desperate to get into the jungle to try to contest this Baron. It's already being done by Shaw and Torture Balls and TJ. Of course, the zoning mage pick from Jackalstar is coming in key here to keep him off.
And we do have a Darius flank from the red buff.
In he comes, finds abilities onto Chris. And they will just deter him. Shaw and Axrail engaging onto the front line. Ulti from Torture Ball comes onto Darius. I can't even tell what's happening in this team. Like, it looks like ulti will be used for the knockup and Mooseman will find something, but it won't be quite enough. Looks like Axrail will just run through most of the team. Joralax picking up the backline here, but it won't be enough.
It is a complete mess of a fight in the jungle that ends with WinWinWin coming out on top.
I couldn't even tell what was happening. I was watching these bad at like 480p.
And honestly, that chaotic fight was about as good as WinDiesel had hoped for.
It just looked like everyone on WinDiesel mashing their R keys together, hoping to find something, anything onto the backline.
Unfortunately, they're just lacking damage, right? They're just lacking critical damage to take care of the key targets, especially the Darius.
Yeah, well, the problem at this point with the Darius is that even if you get the backline, the key damage dealers in the backline, the Darius has already chewed through most of your own damage threats and squishies that are Joralax and Mooseman, and all you're left with are just tanks, and you can't take Darius town with just tanks.
So WinWinWin peel off. They take the double inhib. They'll take the dragon. They'll reset, spend all the money that they got, and they'll probably come out onto the map for what'll probably be the last time. I imagine they'll be what WinWinWin is looking for right now is a Baron take into a game end.
Looks like Real Zilla guy will be out here securing vision for his team. Hopefully they can get some priority here, but of course WinWinWin are moving onto the map really fast as WinDiesel is trying to pick up all the gold they can along the way to make up for the deficit. That's difference.
WinWinWin just kind of moving in to their turn of the map, taking over the vision on the Baron side. And they're just going to try and have WinDiesel walk into them, into what'll be a very awkward engage.
Of course, Axrail again finding another angle onto the Mooseman here, burning both key summoners. And that's going to be the go for the rest of WinWinWin to start up the Baron as Axrail starts absorbing the pressure. This will be Real Zilla guy and Chris Dragonfist onto Axrail here, although Joralax is the only damage that shows up. This man coming back from the fight, Axrail running away. Baron's already taken the burning everything on him. Last breath comes out.
Still
huge and he finally goes down to 4. Ulti comes out from Torture Balls, but they're disengaging. Kind of awkward. TJE over the wall. Will find nothing. Well timed stop pump by Joralax to keep him alive. Real Zilla guy re-engaging. And then of course Sean to the back line. Will find 1. Will find 2, maybe. They're basically 2. He got
a bit of a misexecution from WinWinWin. They kind of started running away when they were winning the team fight, but they got there in the end, and this should be the end. And WinWinWin's first win in the SMLCS S2.
Right, an 11,000 gold difference, and you turn tail and run with a Lulu ultimate on you.
And a huge draft gap by WinWinWin in their first ever game.
Of course, Mr. Sumo Monkey trying to do whatever he can to keep the stream alive. Almost gets torture balls, but not quite. And that will be the conclusion of the first game of the... Oh, wait, are they going to kill Real Zilla Guy? Oh, no, there. And it's over. And now we will be on break. Get back to you soon. Man, there are so many times when the stream quality just like dropped for some reason, and then I had to look over to like the Twitch stream to get to be able to see what's happening. Oh boy.
And we are back with Game 2.
Alright, Lee Sin ban coming out early on the side of Damon Gaming on the blue side.
Very, very powerful flex pick that's been absolutely terrorizing mid and top lane.
Of course, the Viego ban coming in because Meet the Coomers have been penalized for their captain's irresponsible behavior. Gangplank ban coming in from the side of Damon Gaming.
So it looks like Damon Gaming's priority right now is to take away a solo lane power picks. The only ban coming in, limiting engage options. The Seraphine ban coming in from Meet the Coomers.
Malphite ban, that's quite interesting actually.
First pick Kaisa for the side of Damon Gaming, which we were expecting to see a power pick for both of these bot laners, which we do see with the response to Samira.
Right. Of course, Nautilus coming in for Meet the Coomers, denying the Kaisa Nautilus for the side of Damon Gaming and picking up a strong engage for the Samir in the bot lane.
And Damon Gaming actually ended up working against themselves by removing the lane counter to Nautilus being Leona.
Of course, the Hecarim pick is a bit questionable as we are playing on patch 11 point. Is it 11 or are we on 10 now?
We're on patch 11.11, which means Hecarim has just gotten a couple of AD buffs actually.
Oh.
Which means the clear should be a little bit better. As expected, Johnson Buck picking up his signature Vlad as we head into the second ban phase.
Right. Interesting to see where the Galio will go, though. Will he end up as support mid or hell, maybe even top as a counter pick for the Vladimir?
Using final Sejuani ban to target Admiral Bishop's limited jungle pool. We're gonna have to see what he picks up in its place.
It could probably... It might be Rammus. It might be Warwick. We don't know.
Should to see what Meet the Coomers leaves as their final pick. So it looks like they might be leaving their last counter matchup for a solo lane.
Right. I doubt Elongated Girth plays Vladimir. So this is we're most likely looking at a Vladimir top and a Shen pick. We're not sure if that's Shen support or is it flex top with Galio mid. It's interesting to see how this will go.
Like the final pick for Damon Gaming.
It will be Vel'Koz. Well, taking it, that's a good pick actually. It does take it away from Elongated Girth here. He will be taking the Mordekaiser. It looks like there will be a lane swap here potentially, if they choose to put Johnson but V2 here.
Both comps seem very interesting in their own right. But what I'm seeing mainly is that Damon Gaming has a lot of survival of initial engage to then attack Meet the Coomers' initial combo of Nautilus and Mumu.
Right. Which of these champs on Damon Gaming do you think is the support though?
If I had to guess, probably the Galio.
Yeah, I'd put my bets there too.
I think that playing Samira into Shen Vel'Koz is going to be incredibly difficult because Samira needs to be up close and personal to do damage. And the champions on Damon Gaming are doing very well at surviving that initial engage.
Right. And looks like we will be entering the intermission soon. I don't know. I think this is gonna be an interesting top matchup. I think.
Unlike last game, where there was a very clear draft advantage, I think this game actually just comes down to execution. Because if Damon Gaming can execute the counter engage properly, and they know their windows with Shen Galio, then Meet the Coomers shouldn't be able to have any simple breathing space. But if Meet the Coomers can execute their initial engage very well, then Vladimir should be able to absolutely tear up Damon Gaming.
Right. Honestly, I favor the Kaisa matchup here into the Samira. I think I think with the Shen ultimate as well, coming from the top lane, I think, and also the amount of globals on the side of Damon Gaming, I think will allow them a lot more map control in the mid game for the major objectives that they'll likely be fighting over here.
I prefer Kaisa the longer the game goes on.
Yeah, of course.
Because Kaisa is Kaisa, and that champion scales incredibly well, especially when you have a frontliner to hit. Which, if Meet the Coomers is going to walk at you, you have plenty of targets to smash your buttons on.
Right, this will be interesting, I guess, to see how the Nautilus for Sun Tongs here will play this out. I think he might want to. Well, it depends on the matchup. If it does happen to be the Vel'Koz, it should be free engage lane. But versus the Galio, I don't know. I think even if they engage onto the Galio, I think with Samira and early damage, I think they actually might be able to win.
Well, we're going to have to see how the bot lane plays out.
Right, okay. Let's send it to the break now. Looks like we have an early skirmish here in the bot lane in the tri-bush. We missed quite a lot of that, but if we had a replay, we'd be able to figure out what happened. But it looks like, straight up looks like a face track from the side of,
Use an early 5v5 that actually did not turn out the way Meet the Coomers wanted.
Right, okay, well, at least let's catch up on how this will impact the rest of the game. Looks like the bot lane of Damon Gaming did commit every single summoner spell while Meet the Coomers still hanging on to their flashes and an ignite. So hopefully we'll see the early advantage be used and abused here by Big Bosk in the bot lane. Mid lane, the advantage goes to Turtle Tune, still has his thumbs, although he is lacking teleport here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see how these matchups end up playing. I want to see now that because of the early bot fight, I want to see this lane turn explosive, right? You have the early advantage, use it.
Well, it looks like it will just be some standard early trading in all lanes. Although I think it is important to note, though, that the Chickenhawk did skip his Krug, so he will likely be there top for the gank first. Admiral Bishop was really low during this camp.
Also important to note that Hecarim did actually have a base timer to spend all of that money that he got from that early fight. So
Oh yeah, that is an important note. He did pick up the boots as well, so that will be good for early damage.
the Admiral Bishop here should be completely unwilling to try and fight this early. I mean, if he does, I think regardless of any sort of taking any of the soul lanes, he'll be put into a dangerous position.
Right. On top of the fact that Elongated Girth does have the push and the health advantage here in the top lane, so interesting to see how that part will play out. Hogman looking for another trade, but he will lose out again, it looks. Here comes the Chicken Hawk in for the gank that we were talking about. He doesn't have Ghost. Flash burn from Elongated Girth, but it does not matter. He will go down first. Oh, it's not first blood, right? We had the bot tri-bush fight skirmish for some reason.
And we were seeing
That
again a lot of the early kills and a lot of the early setup that I think Meet the Coomers were hoping for kind of invalidated by that early skirmish, because now the Hecarim is so insanely accelerated. And again, the lanes that you would want ahead on the side of Damon Gaming have been put ahead by the early skirmish.
Right, Admiral Bishop here, also a bit afraid to step into his topside jungle after seeing Hecarim in that quadrant. Does decide to go for the bot scuttle in exchange though. Also, I guess it is an important thing to note that for some reason in the draft phase, Sun Tong has transformed magically into DDD World Peace. So that's the same player. Just gotta point that out, I guess, in case that people missed.
In case anyone was confused. Yeah, I sort of expect in the next 5 to 10 minutes to Damon Gaming to hold on to this lead that they managed to clear level 1. And it's going to accelerate a lot of the scaling as we see a fight breaking out bottom.
Right. Looks like abilities will be found onto Deli. Ignite burned on comfortable land, but supports will burn Ignite. And both will likely walk away here. Deli chasing for the last proc of his plasma, but won't find anything. Of course, it is important to note that right now Big Boss has heal back up from the skirmish. Deli being found in the hook, except DBD World Peace will get caught up by the taunt and goes down. And the heal advantage disappears. Big Boss... Oh, that was such a close engagement.
So you see again just the pushing of the advantage that the ball lane managed to get early on, and again the Kaisa side of this matchup, especially with Galio, is really easy to work with.
Right, trading Flash for Flash I think is actually worth it versus Mirror ever since they removed her ability to dash towards allies. She now technically has no real escape. Deli perhaps waiting around for a bit of mana to find the W angle onto Big Boss, or at least burn his W in return or something. Admiral Bishop here finding the gank on the flashless bot lane. Probably will find Deli. Does land the bandage toss, and Deli will likely go down here. Comfortable land walking away as flashless comes up. Elongated Girth again, overextended and ganked, and he goes down.
So I think the correct play here for Meet the Coomers is to take the dragon now that you have pressure on your bot side. I think this is the easiest play for you to make, given that Rift Herald isn't up, so they can't exactly grab anything on the reverse. It's important to note that there is a 2-level advantage in the jungle on the side of Damon Gaming.
That is correct. Those early kills on the Hecarim and the aggressive pathing really did a number on the Amumu.
Like I said, the level 1 kind of ruins any sort of early strategy or plan that any of these teams get. So now Damon Gaming just gets to hold on to their lead and try and essentially outmaneuver Meet the Coomers.
DVD World Peace finding a good hook onto Turtle Tunes, but it will be denied by the... What is this Vel'Koz called? Seismic something?
Sure, let's go with that.
Oh, it was Seismic something, right? I don't remember, but it's Vel'Koz. I need to brush up on my abilities. I've been forgetting them.
Right now, we're kind of just hoping on Meet the Coomers side that you can stabilize for a while, and then you're hoping for Johnson but B2, as per usual, to pull out a miracle on his Vladimir.
Right, he is pulling ahead slowly with the CS lead, and of course using it to apply pressure on the bot side, but there will be no Drake for at least another, like, 3-4 minutes here.
I think what is important to note is the value of certain items here for Damon Gaming. Naturally, you definitely want... Oh, as we see engage bot lane.
Oh, Big Boss positioning aggressively for his jungler and mid to come in. Stand United comes out of Togman, but of course it isn't enough to save Deli in time. Kill goes over to Big Boss. The Samira is slowly starting to come online.
It's a good roam here from Johnson V2 to use what he can, as we see the Death Realm used in the top side.
Oh, of course, Togman goes down to that, perhaps a bit overconfident from his jungler ganking him a few times. Probably thinks he has the lead here, but of course that is still a Mordekaiser, and he can just, you know, miss 3 abilities and auto-attack you 3 times, and of course, get his passive and kill you.
Meet the Coomers doing actually a very good job of stabilizing after that disastrous level 1. What I was going to say is the value of magic resist on the side of Damon Gaming. Usually, you would like your Vladimir to be essentially your sole source of magic damage, so that it's inefficient for the enemy team to buy magic resist, and your Vladimir can just end up doing what essentially amounts to Q damage. But you have a Mordekaiser, a Mumu Vladimir, and Nautilus. All of these champions will do magic damage too. So the value for a Verdant Barrier on the Vel'Koz or Mercury Treads on Galio or Shen just rises exponentially.
That is true, although I guess on the contrary, it does make Big Boss, which is their primary carry, more effective later when armor starts to fall off and, you know, lose its value compared to how much it's worth early.
Yeah, that's essentially what you're hoping for as Meet the Coomers, conversely, but again, playing Samira into these champions is just very hard. Like, he's gonna have to execute very perfectly in defense.
Oh, comfortable land again, finds the taunt onto DVD World Peace. DVD World Peace hooks a minion, and then beautiful Killer Instinct from Deli comes out and dodges Big Boss. Will he get the ult off? Big Boss holding on to... Oh, and it doesn't matter. The Desert Rose wilts once more.
Yeah, and a really nice 2v2 from the side of Damon Gaming, taking advantage of their power lead, especially given the Kai'Sa's items right now, and their ability to absolutely destroy the Nautilus, who, as of right now, despite having some armor, still really isn't that tanky.
But this will be a few bot lane turrets taken, and maybe this will be the entire bot tower. Okay, the Herald comes in. DVD World Peace desperate to stop it. TP coming in from the side of the MTC. Comfortable land, gives up his life, hoping to buy Deli a bit more time. But Admiral Bishop, no bandage toss for a bit, will use the Curse of the Sad Mummy to secure the kill. Or
really nice hook there from DVD World Peace to Galio W. Again, another great roam from Johnson to take advantage of the overextended ball lane to get a shutdown on from the Kai'Sa. But sending the Kai'Sa back has a really big problem, because now that Kai'Sa has Kraken Slayer, which is going to do a lot of damage to meet the Coomers.
Right, it is important to note as well. I'd like to note that the Kai'Sa does indeed have Q evolve at this point, most likely, with these 2 items. Elongated Girth sending Chickenhawk to the Death Realm, duking it out 1v1, but Chickenhawk getting hit by the isolated Q will go down. Big Boss, low HP on the other side of the pit, must let DVD World Peace die. Johnson V2 looking for the big ultimate on the back line, will find none, has to run away with his tail sort of between his legs. Still kind of winning, but a re-engage will come in from comfortable land, but he's all alone. Deli's walked off to fight Admiral Bishop with Togman, and will find the kill onto 1, looking for a Big Boss. Big Boss very smart to take the blast cone there and bounce Deli back.
And, you know, Johnson V2 collecting some kills on the opposite end of that fight, so essentially what we're seeing is a battle between the Vladimir and the Kai'Sa to see who can get more fed.
Although Johnson V2 is a bit alone here. Killer Instinct comes out, but Prey Seeker misses, and Johnson V2 walks away alive. very mechanically adept. He almost got it there.
This does mean that Damon Gaming will take their free dragon as their reward after a lot of fighting.
Ultimate comes from Chickenhawk, and he will find DVD World Peace once more.
DVD World Peace kind of losing his head there a little bit. There really was nobody to back him up to go for that sort of a vision on the dragon.
Right, that was quite the solo suicide play, and a fun note, in all chat, he did say we do a little trolling.
I'd like to point out here that Hecarim has opted in for Trinity Force, so this is not your chem tank unkillable Hecarim that's going to be running at you. This is a Hecarim that is going to do a lot of damage.
He's not made to disrupt the backline, he's made to kill it.
Yeah, he's made to kill it, and essentially at this rate, it sort of seems counterintuitive because when you look at Meet the Coomers team, they're just kind of be running at you anyway. So he's like his ulti's gonna have limited value because even Big Boss is still just gonna be running at you as well. And despite what I said earlier about high value for magic resist, we only see Merc Treads on the Shen. So
Main assignments are getting a bit mixed up though, but go on.
Yeah, I was hoping that the Damon Gaming would identify just how useful magic resist would be earlier, because this Vladimir is very strong and is only strong.
Right, it looks like Admiral Bishop and Johnson Butt V2 will find their ultimates onto Cogman, and he will go down. Chickenhawk coming in a bit late for his top laner. He will try to take the 2v1, but nothing will really come of it. No one can really kill each other in the matchup. Turtle Tunes is found by DVD World Peace. Full engage comes out from Big Boss as well, and they take him down. That's an easy free pick.
Side effect of the Hecarim going full damage, he is very squishy. So if that Vladimir is onto him, or if any of the damage dealers from Meet the Coomers are onto him, then he will just explode.
It is important to note that Turtle Tunes did go down there with both summoners, so it's perhaps a bit of a questionable play. Looks like the odd lane swap from Meet the Coomers here is going to play out in their favor as they pick up a few kills off what can only be assumed to be confusion or indecision from the side of Damon Gaming?
Yeah, they were seemingly didn't know how to match in the side lane. And was giving him a lot of free time and a lot of free soul XP. So even though he might be down in CS, the amount of soul XP he's gotten because he didn't die in a 2v1 situation is going to be worth a lot.
Looks like Damon Gaming will be setting up for the Herald now.
Yeah, pinging onto the Rift Herald. I think Damon Gaming wants us to accelerate. I mean, their Kaisa is so ridiculously strong, and so is their Hecarim, so they're really just looking to use this to crack onto the towers, get an influx of gold, so that they can sort of preempt Vladimir's scaling with a stronger whole, as a stronger 5-man squad.
Right. Turtle Tunes here backing away from the bot lane, playing it really smart as his team is off the map with no pressure. DVD World Peace misses the hook, Engage comes out, comfortable land. The Chickenhawk knocks him away from taunt, but it won't matter. Deli Killer Instinct finds the kill. Chickenhawk ulti onto the backline, will find nothing. In comes the combo from Togman and comfortable land with the ultimate, and they will find the backline. Meet the Coomers here, not sure what to do. Big Boss comes in with huge ultimate here. And he has the reset on his E, and he will find the Vel'Koz.
So a 4-for-1 trade in the mid lane on the side of Meet the Coomers after a botched initial engage that they managed to correctly turn around. And honestly, I'm impressed. That looked like it was going to be such a win on the side of Damon Gaming, but like I've said, that Hecarim is not built to run into a Vladimir Samira.
That's true. Their front line now on Damon Gaming consists mostly of the Shen and the Galio for tanks. Their Hecarim now is kind of more of a midline diver, so it kind of takes away from their front to back capabilities. Like, diving a Samira isn't as practical because the thing is, like, it's like diving a Kaisa. They're just gonna find their way into your back line, and then you need to reposition to get back to them. So it kind of defeats the purpose here.
Both teams posturing towards Dragon, looking to take this up as their next objective.
Right,
And honestly,
although,
right now, I think in the current power state, I think I do favor Meet the Coomers.
I would agree with you actually. The elongated girth does have TP and Togman does not, and he doesn't have Stand United either for a few more seconds. So if Meet the Coomers can find a way to put pressure on the Dragon here after taking down the Herald, it's very likely that they can find a winning fight here.
It looks like Togman just might play for the console on the teleport from elongated girth so that he can go in the fight and make it a 4v4. But honestly, even then, I think I still favor them in the 4v4.
Well, actually, Togman's just about to get TP back. He like has it right about now. Yeah, he has it again. So it could turn into, again, early TP commit from elongated girth. Looks like Meet the Coomers will be going in here, and of course Togman matches. But he is in the pit. He is isolated from his team. Admiral Bishop does not pull the trigger. Pulls it now though. Hook misses from DPD World Peace, and they are a bit late on the engage. Hecarim finds a huge fear onto 3. And looks like a Vel'Koz ultimate will come in, but it's stopped early. Vladimir's on the back line, but Deli finds his way into the other back line. But it looks like he's alone and he's left standing there with nothing to do. Big Boss finishes him off with his ultimate.
A complete mess of a fight that once again helps with Meet the Coomers in a Meet the Coomers win. And you see what I mean? That again, this Hecarim is really not tanking. Like, he's really just dying so fast, and the more that this keeps happening, the more that Deli keeps ulting in and expecting to have more space for himself than he actually has, the more gold you're giving over to that Vladimir and Samira, who right now are very, very scary champions.
That is correct. On top of the fact that the Vel'Koz ultimate keeps on being cancelled early because Meet the Coomers keep on gap closing him too fast, where he can't get enough effective damage out of it before he needs to leave or die. And then you're losing value, you're losing damage, and without the Vel'Koz there to supplement damage to the front line, they go down too quickly. And the fight is lost. Looks like both teams will now posture around the top side as Baron is going to come up in 3 seconds. Although I doubt both teams will try and take it. Control of this area is nonetheless important.
I think right now it's just so hard for Damon Gaming to find any sort of reliable engage if at least 4 members of Meet the Coomers are around. They just feel so weak in comparison in any sort of engagement.
She cannot find the ultimate here. And, oh my, they just straight up deleted Big Boss. And DP World Peace will hook in there alone. Vladimir trying to salvage something, finds the flash, almost kills Turtle Tomb. Barrier comes out, but he will go down to Deli, and this fight is botched. Elongated Girth finds himself out of the Death Realm alone with only Admiral Bishop. Chris the Sad Mummy comes out, but he finds one, but it won't be enough. It's not the jungler, and this will most likely be Baron to the side of Damon Gaming.
An incredible engage there from the side of Damon Gaming, catching out the Samira, CC locking her and destroying her before the Vladimir has a chance to win the fight.
Chicken out here making a dangerous play, will execute to Baron, but at least they get it on to 3 other members.
A 21-minute Baron for the side of Damon Gaming. Now, we saw what was wrong with that fight very clearly. Big Boss got caught out. So that seems to be the win con for Damon Gaming. If they can catch out the Samira early, if they can CC lock her, if they can one-shot her before the Vladimir even has a chance to enter, then they can focus all of their attention on the last remaining carry. And once that's gone, right now Mordekaiser doesn't have enough to deal with all of this damage that's going to be thrown at him.
Right. And as Samira, right, without Flash, you have nothing to stop the Hecarim or the Shen and in a Flash taunt, because they're not projectiles. You cannot stop them with a Blade Whirl. So the engage from the side of Damon Gaming is very solid in that respect.
See now Deli on the 3.5 item Kaisa. He is hitting like an absolute truck.
Right, he does have the invisible E evolve as well. Oh, Turtle Toon's caught between a Nautilus and a Samira, and he's dead.
Really good pick there from Meet the Coomers to find a little bit of breathing space. They want to try and give up as little territory as possible during this Baron power play, because if they lose too much space on the map, it's going to be even harder for them to find good engages.
Right, that kill on the Turtle Toons actually was off of the Dragon Wards from the previous fight, so he was caught out on those.
Again, Meet the Coomers just want to find some more space for their Vladimir for their Samir, take some time, so that the next fight they pick, they'll have the items, and when they actually are able to execute properly in those team fights with if Big Boss doesn't die early, I honestly believe that they might still win, even at this item disadvantage.
Right, well, it looks like it will be just sort of a map stalemate from both sides as they posture around the drag. Elongated Girth still top, but ready with that TP. Shen, stand united at the ready. Although they do have a ward on Turtle Toons there. No one has swept it yet. They don't know that they've been spotted. Big Boss again sort of alone. I don't really like how that looks. And his team tier. Okay. Looks like it will be a 4v5. Instant TP in from Elongated Girth. EDP will be trying to stall the backline, but it won't be enough. The Velikov ult finds 3 members, but it kills 2, and he goes down instantly though to the Mordekaiser. Elongated Girth is huge. I get it. That's a good one.
They funneled face first into the Samira Vladimir. They funneled through the choke to give them very easy access to all of their AoE damage, and they were just one-shot. And that's why I said, even with this item advantage, even given how far ahead Deli is, if he can't get any damage, like he's just going to be useless, because he has to ult into these fights. He's got to get close to them. But as soon as the Kai'Sa's close to any of these champions, she just dies.
It's instant lockdown. She's gone. It's either overwhelming damage or instant lockdown. This is quite unfortunate. The problem is they're trying to fight front to back, but they just don't have the gold to do it.
They don't have the tools to do it, because they can't pick their engagements properly with Hecarim, because again, Hecarim has just now started to get finicky, but regardless of that, it's stalled out a little bit too much. Like look at the Vladimir, look at the Samira, like they will melt this guy.
Right,
if
they
given
don't
the
have
chance.
a real front line here going into this fight. Galio doesn't really have any real tank items. He has a Seeker's Arm Guard, and then the only tank on the side of Damon Gaming is this Shen, but he is quite behind in gold, so he won't be able to hold out for long.
And because none of the space can be bought, Deli can't do any damage. Like, he knows exactly who he wants to be hitting and what damage he wants to be doing, but it's just hard for him to do anything whatsoever because he's got no space. Meanwhile, Big Boss Samira has none of these problems because they're being engaged into. Like, they are walking to him so that he can easily get his combo ready and use his Samira ult so that he can get the maximum amount of damage out.
No objectives to play on the map. It looks like both teams have gone back to bouncing waves. This is League of Legends.
I am a bit disappointed with how little Damon have used their globals and semi-globals.
Oh, Deli steals the red buff from Admiral Bishop. He will be caught out between 3. Ultimate comes out, but it won't be nearly enough damage. He also commits Smite.
Admiral Bishop just not reading the map properly there, losing vision on 3 of them in their top side, and just not able to get away from them fast enough. Doesn't expend his flash though, which is good.
Ooh, another ultimate comes out from 3 members of Damon Gaming, and Deli will trade with Big Boss there. Just an auto attack. Vladimir comes out, is instantly CC'd, but will make his way away with the flashback in. Finds a taunt. Won't be able to do much as he sped straight into the Mordekaiser.
I think Big Boss there played that really well, actually. He realizes that he's going to die anyway, so he turns away from the front line that's currently diving him, and it just goes to cross kill with the Kai'Sa. As soon as the Kai'Sa's dead, the Vladimir can go to town on whoever he's fighting right now.
That is true. The damage threat of the Vladimir right now is significantly higher than that of the Vel'Koz, so trading 1-for-1 isn't that bad at all.
Deli picking up his Infinity Edge as his next item will be looking to complete the Grievous Wounds as his last item, but again, for how strong he is, for how much damage he should be outputting, he just can't find the space to do it.
Oh, they're on wards here in the bot side of the jungle. Meet the Coomers positioning themselves around the Baron. This is going to be another Baron dance fight. Unless it's just another reckless random engage.
Which is what I expect. I mean, Damon Gaming have not been shy about using their semi-globals and Stand United to completely shut down the Samira. They have no qualms about engaging as soon as they see an angle. It's just their engages, while looking good from the start, are just kind of hard to execute.
Right, because they commit everything to the Samira, right? They commit the Hecarim ult, they commit the Shen ult with it, but it comes through a bit late, and then they also commit the Galio ult, but by the time that all that stuff has happened, Deli can't really ult in because...
There's nothing to protect him.
Yeah, he's dead because all the key cooldowns have been used already to get onto the Samira, so the fight's essentially over at that point because there's nothing left you can do aside from dash in and die. Although an early Baron sneak start will be started from the side of Damon Gaming, is spotted out by the blue trinket. Admiral Bishop early engage in, finds a stun onto 5. DC World Peace will follow up. Togman finds the Tauntaun, the jump for DC, but will mean nothing. He goes to sound early, chicken out. Will take the Baron, but Big Boss will find a beautiful Samira ult onto 3 and will take them down. Deli trapped in the Death Realm, face to face with the Mordekaiser, can't do anything. No QSS. This will be a pentakill for Big Boss.
And another great fight from Meet the Coomers. They disregard the Baron. Admiral Bishop plays the engage wonderfully, moves completely past the Baron, gets a 5-mana Mumu ult. DVD World Peace is able to completely follow up with the Nautilus ult, and by that point, Deli just can't play the game. It's just so hard for him to try and do any damage. So what happens to Meet the Coomers just dog piles in, and then they completely evaporate everyone, and Deli's left on his own.
That will be, of course, Soul and an inhibitor picked up for the side of Meet the Coomers.
Important to note, that's Cloud Soul on the Vladimir and Samira, and that is very, very scary.
Right, Samira ult, of course, self-slows, so then when you take that away with the ult, with the Dragon Soul, you essentially have a moving Katarina ult at like full move speed.
And all of the cooldown CDR on the ults are really important for Meet the Coomers. They can continue to do these wonderful engagers off the back of the Moon ult, and they will continue to completely shred Damon Gaming.
Well, it will look like Damon Gaming is just scrambling now to pick up farm and what's left over of their jungle if they can. In desperate hopes of trying to catch up in XP and gold.
Okay, so paint it out for me. What is Damon Gaming's ideal team fight? Right? They were ahead for so long, the gold has thoroughly swung back the side of Meet the Coomers. Damon Gaming is not completely out of it. So what are they looking for? What do you think they need in order to win this game?
I think what Damon Gaming needs ideally is, again, for DVD World Peace to open up all chat, type in "we do a little trolling," and then, very unlikely, but Meet the Coomers, of course, files in one by one in solo queue and dies. That is, of course, the ideal, and that won't happen because mind controlling your opponents to int into you only works in solo queue. Everyone knows that. So, realistically,
barring mind control, what do you think the best chance Damon Gaming has to come back into this game?
I think best chance Damon Gaming has is to stall a fight with Galio Taunt and Shen ult, and then instead of using Hecarim ult as the engage, actually holding it, cancel the Samira ult and turn the fight. I think that's probably the best chance they have. Because now Deli has also picked up the QSS, so he can't get Mord ulted into the Death Realm. But of course another fight is engaged, and Big Boss is caught out this time between Deli and Comfortable Land, and will go down early, but Deli trades his life for it. Elongated Girth will find a pull, and Admiral Bishop takes 2.
And again, they just find themselves blowing all of these cooldowns onto the Samira, and there's nothing left. Deli ults in onto the Samira buys so much time with the wind wall that there's just nothing left afterwards.
Right. That's another problem, is that when they blow all these like key cooldowns for that kind of engage, it's like it seems like they're not thinking steps ahead on what Meet the Coomers is going to do to respond. They only are playing around their own cooldowns and what they have in their own mind. They are thinking, oh, we're gonna engage, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, but then they don't really think about what Meet the Coomers can do in response, and they're not playing reactively from a behind position, which is kind of problematic, because once you try to force when you're ahead, it works, sure, and that's what this comp is made to do, but once you force when you're behind, you're essentially just kind of funneling gold slowly into the enemy's mouths, and that's where
I'd also like to point out again that barely any magic resist on any of these players on side of Damon Gaming. Plenty of anti-heal, which is great, but I don't think it matters if the Vladimir is one-shotting you.
That is also technically true. At this point, the Mordekaiser and the Vladimir are damage threats that cannot be ignored. So itemizing purely for the Samira, even if you trade kill the Samira at the beginning of the fight for the very fed Kaisa, you're still going to go down because you're essentially taking true damage from the Vladimir and the Mordekaiser at this point.
I also think Admiral Bishop making a very intelligent buy here with the Abyssal Mask. He's been finding really good angles for units, and a Mumu ult into a Vladimir ult will actually just one-shot the entire thing. Like,
That is true.
there is no counterplay there.
Well, let's see how Damon Gaming will try to claw themselves back into this one with Baron coming back onto the map in 40 seconds. Of course, Elongated Girth smartly positioned on the other side of the map with teleport ready here.
I do want to commend Elongated Girth of course in this game for being able to correctly...
Hold the phone there. Random ultimate from Admiral Bishop, blowing a crucial teamfight cooldown right before Baron's about to spawn. This is a bit questionable.
Probably a misclick, but the good news is if they stall a little bit longer, they might be able to at least get it somewhat of the way back, but I think now they're just kind of hoping for a misplay after losing that cooldown.
Right. Of course, Togman is basing here. He does have Stand United and Teleport at the ready. Turtle Tunes somewhat has a vague idea of what Meet the Coomers is trying to do, but the Sten has to go match the Mordekaiser. Damon starting up this Baron, committing the Hecarim ult again early. Triple ults combo once again. DVD World Peace finding the CC onto the Kaisa, but he will go down early. Again here, Vladimir is fighting alone. Killer Instinct coming out of Delhi, but he goes down instantly to the Samira ult once again, and it is cleanup for the Samira. Of course, Turtle Tunes stalling out with what he can, but he will go down eventually. There we go, and this looks like a potential end here, and the entire of the Coomers is rotating, so it looks like it will be the end.
Meet the Coomers having a very, very strong showing in the first game of the season, and especially after that disastrous level 1, coming back and managing to win the game.
Uh-oh, looks like we have run into some sort of technical difficulty with the spectator tool. This is happening on everyone's end. This is kinda strange. Well, let's just presume that Meet the Coomers won this one. Yeah, let's just move to the desk. Great win, Meet the Coomers. This is kind of a strange place to be. Yeah, let's move on. Hold on. Chat, are you guys also hearing a Mumu crying as well? Still with the... All right. Looks like we're back on the desk after one interesting game and one rather well played game, actually.
Yeah, I think today we've actually had a good diversity of games. You know, we had a game where it showcased the importance of draft and just how important building a proper team comp is, and knowing the weaknesses of another team's draft. And then again, we see Meet the Coomers actually showing some great determination uh, in in what looked to be a disastrous level one and a complete rollover of the game, given how it started. But then it just a complete swing in the opposite direction in the mid game that just allowed for the Samir Vladimir to take over the game.
Right. I believe that second game actually demonstrates what ability cooldown tracking, and more importantly, playing around win conditions and what you want to do in a fight and what the enemy wants to do in a fight. That's like probably the most important thing from that match, and what turned the tides the most is managing cooldowns and the discipline to hold on to certain spells to, of course, wait and counter the enemy. Of course, sometimes the engagers were a bit too trigger happy and too many cooldowns were blown too early, and of course nothing could stop the Samira with there's no CC spells left after, and Big Boss is just free to run over your team and nothing can happen.
Yeah, I think it was actually a great showing of what we mentioned at the top of the day, where last season we saw very clearly that like superior team fighting is what wins these games, right? Draft
Right.
does help, but if the drafts are relatively even, it kind of doesn't matter at a point when some people get ahead. It just matters about your execution, and that's what we saw last game. We saw a disastrous early game, and then we just saw Meet the Coomers out execute at every single team fight. Every single big fight was won by Meet the Coomers after a certain point, and then Damon Gaming could do nothing because their pattern of engage was always the same. It was Hecarim ult, let me blow Shen ult on the Hecarim, let me use Galio ult on the Hecarim, but then everyone runs out of the Galio ult, and then everyone gets away from the Hecarim, and now there's nothing left.
Right, yeah. It appears that my camera is frozen, which kind of sucks. But moving on, I actually think it would have been more interesting to see how Deli would have played these fights if he just fought front to back, right? Because Kai'Sa shreds the front line harder than a Samira can for sure. Like Samira's always going to dive back line, like because that's where her damage is most effective. But it would have been actually interesting to see if they just played the fight front to back every single time, because and also using Killer Instinct defensively, because like Kai'Sa has a lot more percent health damage, so it's better for shredding tanks. So, and also at one point he was like extremely ahead. So instead of going in on the Samira every time and trading one for one, it probably would have been more fun to see how this would have played out just in a front to back standard fight.
And that comes with adaptation, right? Like you engage a couple of fights a certain way, you know that you're losing the fights engaging a certain way. So now it's time to change, right? Do you want to fight front to back properly? Do you want to keep trying these engages? Do you think you can win normally? And eventually, it just sort of looked that like Damon Gaming just couldn't adapt anymore. They just sort of lost their ability to adapt in high risk situations. Um, Meanwhile, Meet the Coomers really didn't have much to do because they were being engaged on in the same way. It was soak the initial engage. Let's get the Vladimir in the middle of the team. Let's get the Samira close to the Kai'Sa, and then the fight is just over.
Yeah, right, for sure. Especially because, like, a Kai'Sa in the back line with just like even a 500 health shield can't stall longer than a Samira with a 360-degree wind wall. That's just not how it works. Complete damage mitigation always beats like a 500 health shield. All
Regardless, we
right,
had some incredible games today, and I'm very excited for day 2 of the SMLCS Season 2. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
all right, yeah. See you, everyone.